For the next session, it's Dr. S.R. Naik Memorial Oration. May I take the honor to invite Dr. R.K. Dhiman, President INASL, and Dr. Ajay Duseja, Secretary General INASL and Organizing Chairperson for INASL 2025.
Good morning, everyone. So now we have Dr. S.R. Naik Oration. Professor Subhash Raghuveer Naik, born in Santa Cruz, Goa, he was brought up in a middle class family. After completing his MBBS and MD medicine from the Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi in 1971, he worked as a registrar at a Irvin Hospital, New Delhi. In 1973, he moved as a lecturer in tropical medicine to PGIMER Chandigarh, where he spent 9 years in various capacities. During this period, he went for a 1 year on Commonwealth Fellowship at St. Bartholomew Hospital in London. In 1982, he decided to move to the KEM Hospital, Mumbai, and in 1987 to Lucknow to head the Department of Gastroenterology at SGPGI. Dr. Naik was a gastroenterologist with excellent clinical teaching research skills. His major interests in gastroenterology were viral hepatitis, in particular hepatitis E and B, gastrointestinal motility, physiology, malabsorption, and GI infections. In Mumbai, Dr. Nayak started work on hepatitis B infection and the mechanism of its chronic persistence and demonstrated that carrier state for this infection was related to the defects in antigen presentation and host lymphocyte. While in Lucknow, Dr. Nayak and his group investigated a large epidemic of hepatitis in Kanpur in 1991. This epidemic affected nearly 80,000 persons. Through an astute epidemiological studies, he showed that the epidemic was caused by fecal contamination of cities' drinking water supply using molecular techniques. The epidemic was shown to be due to the hepatitis E virus infection. Scientific communication and the medical writing and editing were areas very dear to his heart. Dr. Nayak was associated with the Indian Journal of the Gastroenterology since 1982 and continued till 2002, and he also organized and conducted several workshops in different parts of the India on scientific communication. Dr. Nayak had excellent planning and administrative skills, as evidenced by his role in the development of the departments of the gastroenterology in two major institutions. One is the KEM Hospital, Mumbai, and other is the SGPGI, Lucknow. Both these departments have been at the forefront of the gastroenterology in the country. He was an unassuming and simple person and had high moral standards. Dr. Nayak was a workaholic and could not stop working, even despite his serious illness, which kept him moving in and out of the hospital during the last few months of his life. He continued working. In this period, he wrote an biography book titled Metamorphosis, a doctor's autobiography, which gives insight into his transformation from a timid schoolboy into a confident and a mature doctor. He worked also on another book entitled Communication for Biomedical Scientists, which is in the process at that time. Yeah. In Dr. Naik's death, on 1st July 2002, the medical and hepatology research community have lost an important member. The void left by his death cannot be filled, but his colleagues, students, will ensure that his ideas and teachings are disseminated far and wide. I'll just tell you the important person who received Dr. S.R. Naik Award, and the first award was given by Dr. S.K. Acharya. Then Dieter Hosinger, Carlo Merkel, Bernardi, Dr. Arun Salyan, Timothy Morgan, Geoffrey Dushuko, Professor Patrick Kamath, he is here, Dr. P.N. Rao, and Dr. Jayanti Venkataraman. Dr. Ajay, please.
Thank you, sir, and good morning, everyone. So it's my proud privilege now to introduce the orator of the day for Dr. S.R. Naik Memorial Oration, and he is Dr. Abhijit Chaudhary. Dr. Abhijit Chaudhary is currently serving as Provost and Distinguished Professor of Hepatology at the Indian Institute of Liver and Digestive Sciences, Sonarpur, Kolkata. Dr. Chaudhary was born in the year 1959 and he graduated from North Bengal Medical College and then received training leading to MD and DM in gastroenterology in 1993 from PGI Chandigarh. Beginning in 1994 till 2024, he was associated with the Institute of Postgraduate Medical Education and Research, IPGMR, Calcutta, in different capacities. He, along with his colleagues, transformed a department of gastroenterology there at IPGMAR, Calcutta, into an integrated digestive and liver diseases school with multiple allied and interlinked disciplines, including a center for research working under one umbrella. Dr. Chaudhary's work has extended into institutional building, social entrepreneurship, and human development. Committed to the volunteerism and social transformation, he had been driving force behind the Liver Foundation of West Bengal, which was established in the year 2006 as an NGO that is active in health and human development. His skills and aptitude in institution building has found wider template of expression at the development of the new institute where he's working now, the Indian Institute of Liver and Digestive Sciences. And this is purely through the philanthropic support that they could garner from a global and national pools of donors. He also steered genesis and development of John C. Martin Center for Liver Research and Innovations as the research hub within the ILDS. He had developed a population-based health and demographic surveillance system. We are aware of those studies which have been done there, and this is named as the Birbhum Population Project. This is again was done in the year 2009 for longitudinal cohort based health, social, and public health research. As a clinician scientist, Dr. Chaudhary has authored close to 150 research papers in peer reviewed journals, including Science, and his H index is 50. His areas of liver disease research where he contributed include community integrated and population based epidemiology of liver diseases, particularly steatotic liver disease or fatty liver disease, where he was one of the early describers of the entity of MASLD or NAFLD in the lean individuals. His scholarly contributions have earned him fellowship in the National Academy of Sciences, India, and Indian National Science Academy. Dr. Chaudhary's scholarly journey reflects the profound impact that visionary leadership can achieve when clinical expertise converges with social consciousness and institutional innovation, creating lasting change that transcends individual achievement to benefit countless lives and communities. So, with these words, I'll now invite Professor Abhijit Chaudhary to deliver his oration, Dr. S.R. Naik Memorial Oration. Dr. Chaudhary, please.
Yeah, a very good morning to all of you. I'm deeply privileged and honored to deliver this oration which is in memory of an individual who had left impacts amongst many of us sitting in this room and at an individual level on me. I have got some very important personal anecdotes to share as I get into the oration. In fact, in 85, when I appeared for the MD entrance examination in PGI, we had a viva voce examination at the entrance at that point of time, and there were 4 tables, and in one table, somebody appeared, and then I got to know that person was SR Naik when I got into PGI in 1986 for my MD. And very importantly, he was my DM final examiner. And as it happens, you perform in whatever way during your final examination. I really didn't do good, and I was it was trembling, time at that point of time, and I had missed a very important finding. And Dr. Naik, as I got to know later on, was very annoyed that I should not be given the degree because that was a post-transplant patient, and I didn't mention about the scar on the abdomen in inspection. And he was emphatic that a person who misses a scar in a post-transplant patient should not get the degree in the final analysis. So on the, once the examination was over, and when the informal get-together was taking place between the examinee and the examiners, he was very emphatic in asking me, did you do all things that you were supposed to do? I told no, because by that time I was clear that I'm going to sink. But then he told that, remember that you are going to do, you will be asked to do best to your patients and use science wherever you are. Those words kept on ringing in my ear, and what I'm going to share with you in the next 20 minutes, as I'm allotted to, is what the way he has inspired many of us to do science in the best possible way and looking at the community. That's what we keep on doing. And he was a great leader in academics, and this is just one of the photographs that I could collect. And you can see that some of these two, the two young guys sitting on the left of him, were stalwarts in Indian liver disease and Indian GI scenarios. And I know that there are many more, and Dhiman is also a very early student of his who is sitting here. So he was a great leader in academics, and beyond being a leader in academics, his inspirational character and the ability to raise questions and go beyond the boundaries of hospitals is what kept on inspiring me, as it inspires many. And I think Dr. Dhiman has just mentioned about his epoch-making works on HEV, which, I think if we look back to HEV, understanding the contributions of Dr. Khuru, Dr. S.R. Naik, and obviously Rakesh is sitting here as one of his students and co-workers, is tremendous in the global scenario and the outbreak. And what fascinates is the way, this group had in almost detective precision found out that the Kanpur outbreak, and that's very interesting. That's much more than what a usual clinician does. That the Kanpur epidemic was caused by a sewage contamination, because from the Ganges, water was getting into the pipe, and that needs some more eye than what we keep on using in our day-to-day practice. And that makes him different from an average clinician looking after patients alone, and that makes him visionary, that makes him institution builder, that makes him a great researcher. So this question that they raised was finally, and they kept on understanding these over the next years that he was working, and they then tried to understand the intrafamily versus the transmission dynamics, intrafamily transmission. And then in 2000, again, if you go to the literature, Rakesh was the first author of that article. They could demonstrate the viremia and fecal excretion. So it tells that you raise a question in the community, try to take that back in your, or you try to take that back in your lab, and try to dig deep to answer a clinical question with all the scientific tools that gets available to you from time to time. And this is something, the inspirations of Professor Naik in front of the clinical community, in front of all of us. So with that, we know at an individual level, given the fact that we were deeply inspired by his his work and the way he looked at community, we started looking at, what is the question. So time has changed, as we know. At his point of time, 2 decades ago, infections were the predominant causes of morbidity and mortality in the Indian population. And in 2025, it's not infections, it's the non-communicable disorders which are linked to metabolic dysfunction, which are threatening the health of the Indian population, and for that matter, the South Asian population. So we thought that let's look at our society with whatever tools we have. So exposome and envirome is more important or equally important as biome that we keep on looking at in most of our labs. And we thought that the obesity, metabolic health, and steatotic liver disease matrix needs to be dissected from a broader viewpoint than what we kept on doing. So the story that I'm going to tell you is built through hospitals, populations, and then research centers. So on the left hand side, you see our population based team which does interventions. On the middle is our team, the Birbhum Population Project, which Ajay just mentioned, Dr. Duseja just mentioned while introducing me. We had developed this as a health and demographic surveillance system, wherein I work as a hepatologist. An economist from Harvard School comes and looks up for their economics data. We have got a public health team, and we have got a team of surveyors who goes to, this is a structured health and demographic surveillance system, whereas we keep on extracting data, and is being led by Professor Dali right now, after I superannuated from the government. This is being funded by government of West Bengal. And on the right-hand panel, we have got the hub of research, which is the John C. Martin Research Center. And let me tell you, all the work that I mentioned here was started off while I was in IPGMER. So our look started off with the oft-repeated study that we started. So in 2010, while we started looking at the community, we found very interestingly that these people, the lean, the so-called non-obese people, also have got fatty liver disease. So we started thinking, so that's our problem. Let's try to look at the dynamics of that, determinants of that, and try to discover what new information can we gather from that. And that was the impetus for developing a structured health and demographic surveillance system. This is spread over 351 villages, covers 12,000 households. It covers 55,000 population, and we have got a structured team of 60 people, which I sit with on Sundays and try to decipher what data they have got. They visit every household every week and try to develop death, birth, marriage, migration, and health-related information. We have got structured questionnaires which we put to them also from time to time. So this is a team that gives us such a treasure of information. Now, the first question that you raise, how these people, what are the mortality trends in Birbhum Population Project area, in Birbhum? So we interestingly found, as you see here, there are 3 bars here. One is in 2012, the other is in 2017, and then is 2021. And we found that deaths due to circulatory disorders and respiratory system disorders are progressively increasing from over the last decade or so, while deaths due to infections is gradually decreasing. And there was an increase during the COVID times, but I mean 2021. But keep apart that, it's mostly non-communicable disease. So people in India who are rural, who are workers, physical workers, who are marginalized, are today dying because of non-communicable disorders with metabolic dysfunction as the key of it. It's not an urban, affluent, and all these disorders. So next question was, what's happening to them? So now we tried to figure out the lifestyle and social surrogates of an emerging metabolically dysfunctional society. We think of, biological surrogates like all those. So we took waist-hip ratio as the predominant thing that we would see. And then we found that sedentary physical activity, mobile phone use, motorcycle riding, and health risk all were related to increasing waist-hip ratio. So if we use waist hip ratio as an impending doom, increasing waist hip ratio, then all these are contributing to that. Very interestingly, one of our in fact surveyors told, sir, things are changing because people are habit is changing, behavior is changing. Now we did a survey of what was the motorbike use, mobile use, and alcohol use in Birbhum population project area. And you can see this is the motorbike use is peaking. The mobile use is again is maximum, and alcohol use is also increasing that at a that high rate. I mean, this is the value of 2009 and this is the value of 2017 over a span of 12 years. It's fairly rich, and that is how we are sitting on a time bomb of metabolic dysfunction and alcohol together, and which is going to determine our approach to liver disease in the future time to come. Now we looked at what was the BMI changes in the population, and we published this in BMJ in 2018. So we found that in 2008, only 43% were normal weight. Okay, underweight was 46% at that point of time. Now India is getting affluent. People are getting more food than they were getting, and what's happening is, of these people who are normal weight in 2008, almost 19% of the males, this is amongst the males, have become overweight, and overweight people have almost always maintained that. Interestingly, more females have become overweight than compared to males, telling us that obesity, using BMI as a cutoff in Indian rural society, is increasing amongst women, and then what we did is we tried to see prevalence of metabolic dysfunction. This we published again in 2018. This was part of the same study. We studied anthropometry along with metabolic dysfunction, and we found that almost 1/5 of them had markers of metabolic dysfunction, and increased body mass index and age were associated with METs, as along with other studies like Framingham Offspring Study and Amsterdam Growth Study and all. Interestingly, again, low physical activity among women was associated with METs. And we thought that now we should have targeted socio-behavioral intervention for the rural Indian people. And this is pretty well known. Now we started working on a socio-behavioral intervention, which I'll tell you, Liver Foundation implemented this. So we formed metabolic health ports in the villages. Okay, we used cycle riding as the clue to good health. We also started training people. So Partho is the leader here. So he's a physical, he's a public health guy. So he leads the intervention team. Now we started having exercise training programs in the villages. So this is the males who are being trained. See here, classical, so-called lean person with fatty liver disease, a big bunch in the middle, and also amongst women. And let me tell you, and Partho is riding the cycle. So we started telling that forget your motorcycle, ride a cycle and do physical activity whenever. And the women folk were also inspired and deeply inspired to do that. And their jobs in Indian rural society is to feed their children, to cook for their household, and then to get a slumber in the noon time. And now that food is fairly well flowing, they get this metabolic syndrome and obesity faster. So we also started telling them. Interestingly, I'm not presenting data here, but interestingly, their compliance with exercise programs is better than the male folks' compliance with the exercise programs. And they are more amenable, and we use the women self-help groups in the villages also. I forgot to tell that. And we also use the informal healthcare providers in the villages for this program. And now, these are the training programs, like Partho training the informal healthcare providers, we training we doing surveys in the things in the villages, and we also built up charts like this in the villages in order to get them to the thought that, this is a research, but that's how Birbhum would show the way to think. Now we come to analytics. We, apart from doing the intervention, looking at the population health, we started developing an analytical team. So this is we having an ultrasound team which is going to the periphery. Right now, Indian regulations don't allow you to do ultrasound in the villages, but we started doing this in 12 or so, and took the ultrasound machine in a sort of van, and this is the our team members doing ultrasound in the thing. Now we also took EcoSense gifted fibroscan machine to the villages, and these are the we use the block primary health centers as the fibroscan sites. So went deep into the villages for doing surveys with ultrasound, fibroscan, and blood parameters. And I'll show you some of the data. We collaborated with the school in Harvard Medical School group to look at how it fares in Indian population versus a multi-ethnic US population in terms of cardiovascular risk in people who have got metabolic dysfunction. So we found that the South Asian, this is pretty well known, have got a low body mass index compared to US Asian, non-Hispanic whites and all. Despite that, hepatic steatosis was a predictor of dysglycemia and atherogenic dyslipidemia in this rural Indian Birbhum population. We published this in International Journal of Cardiology in 2016. And cardiometabolic derangements, as you see here, occur at a lower level of adiposity in South Asians who have got a greater log visceral index compared to the US population, particularly the Hispanics and non-Hispanic blacks. Again, conforming to the already available knowledge, it's confirming that poor, active, so-called lean people in India still harbor the same cardiovascular risk as others. In we started this work. In India, we don't have a clear guideline or evidence-based guideline for understanding metabolic dysfunction, and this study got published in 23. So in Birbhum population, we use the informal healthcare providers as the researchers here. So we screened for metabolic ill health 80,000 people. And initial screen was only with LT, anthropometry, and random blood sugar. So we gave a people this green card, yellow card, and red card concept. So we gave a green card to those people who have got good things in this. Then the next way, we dig one step deeper. We did lipids and all. So people who were good were given, were bad, were given yellow cards. And they now comes to the apex center, where those people who are metabolic unhealthy are given red cards, telling them that you need to be under vigil. So this is what we thought can be one of the approaches that this country can adopt if you want to look for metabolic ill health, starting off with anthropometry and random blood sugar or with LT level, then grow deeper. And the card concept might make your focus on metabolic well-being as an integrated health and well-being scenario to your people. So we published this in 23. Now we have just finished building a diabetic metabolic ill health cohort in Birbhum. So this is a 3,000 people who are getting, drugs from government. As you know, non-communicable disease control program provides drugs. So we thought that let's see how our people fare badly, our diabetics with or without fatty liver are doing. So again, this was helped by EcoSense to a large extent. They had given us a machine, they had given us some funds to do this research. So we have built, so we did basic clinical examination in these people in Birbhum. We studied FIB for fibrosis score and CAP-LSM VCT and all. And we are looking for any clinical event because they are going to go to the same hospital. So this is going on in the Birbhum district. So this is a 3,000 cohort we are going to follow up. Very initial data says that almost 14% of them have got ALT elevation. FIB4, which is bad, was present in 26% of them. LSM more than 12 we took, if we think, is present in 5%. So this is a cohort that we have built up, and I think we'll tell you more stories in the years to come. So apart from this, as I told you, population health, community perspective, interventions and all, we are also doing some deep dissection into the metabolic dysfunction problem. So this is a whole exome study which we carried out, starting from the Birbhum population and also hospital-based population, pulling all together. And then we found that PNPLA3 stands tall in Indian population also, but there were some more genes looked at SNPs, which also works. But taking this is being done by ILDS and JCMLRI together, taking this also right now, as I told you, that we have built a research center which is named as John C. Martin Liver Center for Liver Research and Innovations, and we are having a very strong genomics team out there, and one of our collaborators is in Scotland. His name is Ramanuj Dasgupta. He's helping us quite a lot. And so, apart from population and the center, right now we are focusing on single cell sequencing, and because single cell sequencing give you deep into the tissues and spatial transcriptomics. So Ankita is working with Ramanuj and the data, and we are moving to higher resolution. And as I mentioned the other day when I was talking on lean muscle in the lean, that we are finding very interesting thing in fibrosis evolution amongst lean people. And we consider that steatosis is pretty bland and nothing happens out there. But we can found that a lot of immune and inflammatory activity is going on even in F1 stage compared to F4, F3 stage. So you get suppressive MAX, you get CD8 and other Treg cells activation, telling us that it's not all that bland. The people with no fibrosis are not that all bland, and we need to look at anybody with liver dysfunction. So, as I conclude and summarize my talk, metabolic ill health is spiraling in our population. Particularly the rural India is the backdrop for the impending panorama. Obesity, diabetic liver disease is an integrated spectrum. And we look at, I think, as a hepatologist, it's our time to resurrect our internal medicine understandings to treat this group of people. A reductionist hepatology only approaches are unlikely to be impacting in the country. A broad-based population level data and intervention are as or more important than developing molecules as we combat it. Raising questions in the context and answering those is going to be the need of the future, and that's what probably Professor Naik taught all of us. And I think as I give this oration, I think he's talking to us right at the present point of time. As I finish my oration, I would acknowledge all my colleagues, my co-workers at IPGMA, at ILDS, and JCMLRI, and at Liver Foundation and Birbhum Population Project, whose all data I told you, and more importantly, people of Birbhum who keeps on talking to us with all their, not only blood, with all their cooperation and wishes that they give to us. And let me tell you, we do population work, we take blood samples, we don't give them any monetary incentive. This is a difference which I debated with my US co-workers when they say it. Because unfortunately, incentives, if you give to people, that would turn into, in Indian corollary, that would turn into bribing them, and that would spoil your future work in the population. So for population level work, I would suggest that we don't give any monetary incentives for our research, rather than that's what we did. Rather than we get them wood to the fact that you are contributing to the country's policy, you are contributing to advancement of science, and it's possible to do this. And we found that in our work time. Thank you all for your patient hearing, and I bow down my head in memory of Professor Naik as I complete my oration. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chaudhary, for taking us through your journey with the population health and metabolic dysfunction as the interface. It's customary not to have any questions or comments after the oration. We'll request you to come at the center for the felicitation ceremony. Thank you.
Sir, please. Thank you, sir.